Okay, so here is something that we've not heard before. There is a new book that gives insight into how former President Obama was affected by Donald Trump's 2016 election victory. The New York Times has published excerpts from this memoir. It's called The World as It Is by President Obama's former Deputy National Security Advisor, Ben Rhodes. Here's just one passage. Rhodes describes Obama's struggles during a trip to Peru. He says that Obama said, "Maybe we pushed too far," Mr. Obama said. "Maybe people just want to fall back into their tribe. Sometimes I wonder whether I was 10 or 20 years too early." Okay, we're back with April Ryan and Wesley Lowery. So, Wes, this is fascinating because President Obama has been notably reticent. Okay, when all of this stuff has been happening with President Trump, and so many people say, "Where's Obama? How does he feel? What is he thinking during all of this?" And now here's this book that explains, just how confused he was and what role he thinks he played in did he push people too far, and this was sort of the natural boomerang after that. What are your thoughts when you hear his thoughts?
Of course. Well, reading these excerpts from Ben Rhodes' book have been fascinating already, and I'm eager to read the rest of the book, if only because, we haven't had a lot of access to former President Obama since he's left office. He's been a president who, has given a few talks and interview here and there, really has kind of stepped off of the stage. And beyond that, and it's hard to remember a time, but there was once a time when there was a White House where we weren't hearing about every single argument, every single fight, every single interaction. That largely what President Obama was saying in private during his 8 years of the presidency remained private. And so what this is providing is some insight into his private conversations, his private thoughts, his introspection. And so that's, to me, part of what's really interesting here is how does President Obama see himself, see his legacy, and see what he did or maybe what he should have done as it relates to what happened afterwards.
And what does the Trump election mean about Obama's legacy? Because there were three people in this election, right? There was Donald Trump, there was Hillary Clinton, but there really was also Barack Obama here, and you can hear the former president trying to process the decision that America made in the 2016 election. And one of the things he says, "I don't know," President Obama told aides. "Maybe this is just what people want. I've got the economy set up well for him," he means Trump. "No facts, no consequences. They can just have a cartoon." Very interesting, April.
Yeah, but what I will say is what I know about former President Obama right now is that he's keenly aware of what's going on, but he's moving on, trying to do exactly what George W. Bush did for him, staying out of it as much as he can. But going back to that moment, you have to remember, there is a chord between Barack Obama and a familiar chord between Barack Obama and Donald Trump. Change, the word change. They struck a chord in certain sections of America. Change. And Donald Trump did the same thing. The question is, how much of a rebuke was change with Donald Trump to Barack Obama? And that's what they're thinking. That's what they're wondering. And I remember the day that President Obama marked the fact that history had changed. We had number 45, Donald J. Trump. And I remember that day when President Obama welcomed Donald Trump into the White House. It was only supposed to be like a 45-minute meeting. It wound up lasting for hours. And Barack Obama, no matter what he felt, no matter the fact that he was on the road talking against Donald Trump, his character, his moral fiber, and his policies, he still wanted a transition of government, smooth transition of government to uphold the democracy. He did his job, even as he had those questions. Ben Rhodes hits the nail squarely. He was in that inner circle to know.
There's other news in here, and that is, there's so much noise and questions about should President Obama have done more about the Russian interference. And you hear it from President Trump and his supporters. Well, this was on Obama's watch. Why didn't he do more? Here's an interesting passage that I will read. Mr. Obama had authorized a statement to be issued by intelligence agency leaders a month before the election, warning of Russian interference, but was thwarted from doing more because Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, the Republican leader, refused to go along with a bipartisan statement. Mr. Rhodes called Mr. McConnell's refusal staggeringly partisan and unpatriotic. This is from an interview with, Rhodes in the New York Times. So that's new information that President Obama had wanted West to alert people, but that Mitch McConnell wouldn't go along with the bipartisan nature.
Certainly. And I think that, and we've heard I think, tidbits of this before. We've heard about this idea of this bipartisan statement. I'm not sure. We certainly hadn't heard President Obama's private reactions or his view on the fact that the Senate Majority Leader would not go along with it. It's almost refreshing a little bit to hear the president's almost cynicism about this. You can almost imagine a world where the president would have been the more idealistic one, frustrated that Republicans wouldn't come along. But here, what you see is him kind of being resolved after 8 years of a Republican stature that was extremely obstructionist, him kind of accepting and understanding that, of course, they're not coming along. They wouldn't give us Neil Gorsuch. They wouldn't give us, deals on whether it be the economy or health care. Of course, they aren't helping us with this election. Like I said, hearing Obama be a little bit of a cynic is a little refreshing, honestly.
Wes Lowery, April Ryan, great to have you with us. Thanks so much.